we're back on the Wagon Podcast, a sobriety podcast with a shot of comedy. A few weeks off. Last week I had posted the Wisconsin Podcast-a-thon episode, which we raised over $4,000 for feeding Wisconsin families. So that was cool. That was podcasters from all over the state came on, did 30 minutes of their show. So I did a little bit of background on me and also did a fun hangover story from a Packer game. So if you haven't heard that one, that's on iTunes from last week. And I also have the actual video content, which was a live video stream. I think that's on This Is D-Span on YouTube. So check that out. I'll put that on the Wagon Podcast YouTube page as well. But yeah, back after a couple weeks. We're going summer strong. Next week is 4th of July weekend. It's crazy how time flies. But this week's episode, we're going to call it A Walk to Remember. All right, that's going to be the title of this episode. One of my best friends had mentioned this story, and mentioned some more details, and somehow triggered some memories in my mind, so we're going to get into that one. So this was, I would say, probably 2012 or 13, I'm guessing. It was before I moved downtown Oshkosh. I was in that page where I was coming off my college house, but I didn't have another place, so I think I was in limbo living at home for that year and a half. So that was something, going to the college bars and coming back home to your parents' house on the other side of town. Not always great, but this was one of those times. So, I mean, it started off, I'm out with my best buddy. I'm sure we met everybody out, but he had lived in the neighborhood too. So we actually moved in, a couple guys into downtown, a nice apartment, a few months after this, I believe. So yeah, just started all like any other Saturday night, went out and got wrecked, got hammered, met everybody out, had a great time, probably per usual. But then it came to the point where, this was a time of pre-Ubers. So like there's like 2 or 3 taxi cabs in the whole city of Oshkosh, it seemed like. So it was so hard to get a cab, especially at bar close and the second drunkest city in America. So we never drove out there. We always got dropped off, was responsible. But if we didn't hitch a ride back with a responsible party, then we were kind of stuck. So this was one of those nights. We met this girl who we barely knew. We kind of knew her from a friend through a friend. And she asked us if she wanted us to come back. And it was another girlfriend of hers. Wanted to come back to her house, which was way out of town. Or not way out of town, but it was outside of, it was like the town of Algoma, I think it was in. So now these two girls, like, we knew them. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like, oh, let's have like an A bar and just go hang out. So we get in a cab with this girl, or these two girls, and we didn't really know where they lived exactly. So we kind of thought, well, hey, let's just get on our side of town, and then we'll figure it out from there. We get there, and they're like, oh, we should all sit in the hot tub. I'm like, oh, okay. So we sit in the hot tub and stuff. Or when we get there, it was just, it was one of those times where you get there and you're like, we need to get out of here. Like, we were drunk, but, I was tired. We just wanted to get home. So the cab ride, we keep going. And I'm like, holy crap, this is way away from where we thought it was, right? This isn't anywhere near. And then, so that's kind of where this hot tub thing came up. She's like, oh, when we finally get there, we should jump in the hot tub. But I guess we didn't realize how long that ride was. So we get to the house, right? Her other friend goes immediately to the bedroom and just passes out, goes to sleep, out cold. Like, okay, so much for the A-bar, like, party. So now it's just us two and this girl, and we decide to go in the hot tub, and I think she gets up to go to the bathroom, and I just look at my friend, like, what are we doing here? Like, why did we even get here? Like, it's so stupid. Like, we should just go. We need to just get out of here. So we go back into the house. It's like, I think it's like 4 a.m, right? So it's an hour and a half past the close, like, bar close. So now we're like, she's like, well, why don't you guys just sleep out here on the couches, and I'll give you guys a ride back in the morning. And we're like, well, what? I don't want to sleep here. I look at him like, we're 25 years old, like, I 24-ish, and he's probably 3. He's a year or two younger than me. I'm like, well, let's just get out of here. Let's just go home. So I'm like, well, let's just walk home. I mean, how far can we be from our houses? So now, for us Oshkosh people, we are in the town of Algoma, out by, uh, pretty close to Leonard's Point Road. If you guys know where we used to live in West Haven, right? So it doesn't seem that far, but in retrospect, it's pretty far. And to be drunk and in the middle of the night, it's not a great idea. But we're like, okay, this is our only way that we're gonna get home. So what we ended up doing is, I think she went to the bathroom or something, or I don't know if actually, I think she just went to go to bed. And we're like, we're getting the hell out of here. It's time to go. So we bolted out the back, sliding doors, like through the back doors. Well, what we didn't know was like she had lived like on this corner side street, way at the end, and her backyard was nice. Like, it had a little nice backyard with the deck and hot tub. But when we went out the sliding doors, it actually went out into a field. Well, the field was adjacent to Highway 21. So now we're in this big, long field walking, and it's just soaking wet. I can hear that we're stomping in like mud piles. And the field is extremely long to get. It's not that close to the highway. So now, now we're like, I remember my jeans were like soaked up like halfway up to my shins of water and mud. And now it's just like, okay, now we just like, gotta get home, right? So we finally get to the road and realize, wow, this is really dark. We should not be walking alongside Highway 21. And we're not really close to where we're going at all. Like, we're not close. We shouldn't be walking on 21. We have no, like, it's super dangerous. So stupid. So we're probably about 5-6 miles from our house, probably a good 5 miles. This is just like nuts. So now we start walking. We're like, what? Talking stupid. Like, what did we get ourselves into? And now we're like, well, maybe a sheriff will happen to drive by, and then he could just give us a ride home. Well, that wouldn't have worked. I mean, yeah, it sounded good at the time, but then now we're openly drunk in public, really, and it's like, I don't know. It just that we were laughing about it. It didn't seem like that good. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but it wasn't. So now we finally make it to a subdivision like cut in off of 21. So now I personally, I always think I know where I'm going. I always think this has happened multiple times with me and this guy, my friend. Just recently, I think last summer at a bachelor party, I think I started walking some way in Milwaukee, and it was the total opposite way. I get this thing in my head where I think I know where I'm going, but I really don't. But I'm very convincing that I know. So we get into the subdivision to see if any houses look familiar. That was our idea. Like, oh, do you see a house that looks familiar? Well, really, every house subdivision in West Haven / town of Algoma kind of looks the same, right? I mean, let's be honest. It's all one. They're all kind of built around the same time, so that was stupid. So one of our friends my buddy had like a little power left on his phone. So instead of I don't know why we just didn't look at maps to see what street we were on. Because we were in a big mess of this like it was this neighborhood, but we ended up playing Pandora, just pumping music. I remember the sun's starting to, not the sun's creeping up, but it's starting to get light, like you can see it. I'm like, oh no, we're probably talking easily 5 in the morning now, 4:45, 5 in the morning. So he's playing this music on his phone. I mean, if anybody saw us two, here we're in our jeans and bar attire, or going out clothes, look like a wreck probably, soaking wet, walking through the streets at Sunday morning at 5 a.m. Probably not a good look, with music playing with Pandora. So now his phone dies. So now my phone's dead, his phone's dead. So now we have an idea that we're going south. We know that, but we don't know where we are according to the Highway 41. Like, we know we're in some subdivision on the right side of 41, but that's about all we know. So finally, we're starting to get to places where we know. We make it back to Oakwood Road, right? But now the sun is really up. So now we're running into the problem of, okay, now it's 6 a.m. probably, or 5:30. Now there could be a problem of somebody seeing us that recognizes us, right? Because it's sunny enough to see us, and we're stumbling around. We're hungover / drunk / tired. Now this could be an issue. We get to the golf course, and there's this epic picture of me. No, let's back it up. So now we're passing the hospital, right? So we're passing Mercy Medical Center. And I start making, I say, man, I wonder what they're having for breakfast today. You know, like maybe we should just go in the cafeteria, have breakfast. That'd be a great story. Well, that could have been a bad story too, going to the cafeteria, which probably wasn't open at the time. A couple drunk guys in the morning already in there trying to order food. So we passed that. Make it to West Haven Golf Course. Now, there's an epic picture on Twitter of taking me out to see if I could find it. I'm sure my buddy has it. Of me like standing on, I don't know, one of the tee boxes. I don't know if it's 7 or 6, whatever. No, it's got to be the back nine, so it could be like 16. So it's facing Oakwood Road, like you can see it by the condos on the course, and I just stand there with my hands up like LeBron James, just standing there with the sun coming up. An epic photo. But what we didn't realize is that the golf course workers were actually just showing up at that time. So now here I'm standing out on the tee box. These guys are just getting to work on Sunday morning. Now Sunday's usually a pretty big golf day, so they're there pretty early. And here I am standing on there, and we're just laughing. It's just one of those things. Like now that we kind of know where we are, like okay, at this point, my more concern is what is my mom going to say when I walk into this household at 6 a.m. probably at this time. So what we didn't figure out too is I'm trying to read some of my notes. As we were walking, oh, that's the same one. Okay, so we get to the golf course. Don't do all that, right? So I know I'm all mixed up with my words now. But we get there, we get home, and I remember walking in the house, and I'm like, oh man, like my mom was up. She's like, what the heck? Like, where are you? I'm like, long story. We walked home. But then we made this joke going on that we walked home from Appleton. Let a few people think about that for a while. But I remember that day, then that Sunday, for some reason I wasn't that bad hungover. I think I slept till probably about 12:30. Ended up calling a bunch of our buddies, and sat out in my backyard. And I think we put some chews in. That was dumb. Didn't feel good after that. And then my sister had some friends over, so we kind of like laid out in the sun and sweated it out. But we really only slept, a few hours. But just a wild time, like I couldn't believe that we were walking home and the sun was literally up. It's just not a great feeling at all. But it's funny to think about now, and that's still one of the stories where we still talk about to today. So that's our story. A walk to remember, just a drunk 5-mile walk home in the middle of the night, early morning. Surprised nobody actually saw us walking though. That was like always a bit, not a fear, but I'm like, oh, that'd be super embarrassing. But that's what we did. So that's the episode for this week on the wagon. A walk to remember. Just an epic walk, and we'll never forget that time. So that's On the Wagon podcast for this week. Make sure to check out my Instagram, and we will talk to you guys next week.